So welcome back, friends. It's Megan from A Seasonal Abode. I garden here in Zone 6, Southern Ontario, Canada, and I thought it would be fun at the end of the year to put together a video detailing all the plans that we had, all the things that we got accomplished in this year, 2024. So starting off at the beginning of the year, I took you into the kitchen garden that we started building in 2023, and I showed you the plans that we had for the coming year. The plan was to add in 6 4x8 foot raised beds into this kitchen garden or potager area, and I took you along to kind of show you the lay of the land and what the plans were for the coming season. Then that same month in March, I decided to put in a perennial border in front of the kitchen garden. The sunset garden is what we called it, and I put that in using the no-dig method. So I took you along in some videos as I established this new bed, and I went over all the details of that, and I will link that above. Then we went in right away with the planting of a little lime punch hydrangea hedge. I go into more details on the formation of this garden. I'm going to link the video up above because I did just make a video on the design process of start to finish of this sunset garden area so that you can check that out. Come April, we had a beautiful show of the tulips, the Kaiser Kroon tulips in the south-facing garden along with the muscari underplanted. It was so vivid and lovely to see after a long winter. Then I took you along as I planted a mini hedge of the green giant cedars in my front yard area. And I planted 3, and I took you along as I spaced them out so that when they grow up that they will be slightly overlapping, but not too close to each other and not too far away from each other either. Then it was back into the sunset garden to continue working on that. We finished edging the border of the sunset garden and added in a bunch of perennials into this new planting area. So we added in some cat's pajamas nepeta, some Helen von Stein lamb's ear, some millennium allium, and some lemon jade sedum. And we also planted up a climbing rose on the one side of the arbor, the Generous Gardener climbing rose by David Austin. As the weather continued to warm up and things started to grow and turn color, I took you along for a May garden tour. It was so beautiful that time of the year, and I'm going to link that tour above if you'd like to check that out. Then come June, it was super exciting to find out that our channel had been featured in Janny from Dig Plant Water Repeats on her YouTube channel, in which she featured a whole bunch of gardens from Zone 6. And that was super exciting, not expecting that to happen. And it's a fun video. If you want to check it out, I'll link it above. I love seeing how everybody gardens a little bit different. Maybe you get some ideas what plants might work well in your zone. And if you're not from Zone 6, she also has videos featuring the other zones as well. Then come June, I took you back into the garden for another garden tour. More plants were blooming. It was so beautiful. I cannot link every single video above, so I thought I would just share that if you are interested in just seeing garden tours, I do have a playlist on my channel that you can check out. It's just called Garden Tours. You can select the month and you can see them there if that's easier. One of the things that I love to do in the early spring is to add more trees and plant them in. So I took you along as we planted in 2 more maples to line our driveway. So I planted in 2 autumn fantasy maples using the no-dig method. Then we continued working on the kitchen garden that we started putting in 2023. So we opened up one of the picket fence panels so that we were able to drive in and out with our gator. And we had a lot of work ahead of us leveling the land. So it wasn't quite level. We chose to make the perimeter first and then go in later and level the land. So that was a huge job. Everyone in the family was involved with that. So we leveled the ground, and then I did put down some professional landscape cloth just because I needed a little bit of help with the weeds. So that was a very, very big project. So we started with the front. In the front, we were going to add 4 new beds. So we wanted to get that area done. And then we continued on in the back, which was actually quite a bit of a mess. Here you can see a before shot of before we started leveling the land. So we took off another fence panel and then brought in our Mini X and used that to help us because it was just a really, really big job. This area was higher rather than lower, so we needed to take it down a little bit. And then we went around the perimeter of the picket fence on the bottom because it did go down in the one corner and we didn't want little bunnies hopping in our garden. So that was a project that took a few days, leveling this land here. And so once we were done with getting the dirt down, we brought in gravel on top of the landscape cloth, and then we were able to go in to prep the ground for the new raised beds. Then the same day that we were working hard on this garden, we found out that one of our Indian runner ducks had hatched some eggs. It was super exciting. She hatched them on her own in our barn, and so we got to play with some baby ducklings. That was fun. Then we took you along as we started the construction of the new 4x8 cedar raised beds. So I have a video on it detailing what size boards we started with, how we cut it, how we constructed the raised beds, and then we used the laser level to make sure that we were able to make sure that they were flush with the ground. And we added 4 new raised beds to the front of the kitchen garden and 2 more on the outside edge of the back of the kitchen garden. I have some plans for the middle of the back of the kitchen garden, which may not be happening for some time yet. So if you have any ideas, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and let me know what you think would be good there. Anyways, so that is what we were able to add in 2024. I will be sharing some plans at the end of this video on some things that we hope to add in this coming year, Lord willing, into this kitchen garden. Another thing that I had planned to do that was on my summer to-do list was to paint. We have this storage bin and it was bright orange, and every time I was in the kitchen garden I could see it, and I really, really wanted to paint it something that was more camouflage, specifically in the winter. It's like just bright orange. So I was able to save up some money and purchase some Tremglad in both black and green, and then I ended up mixing the paint colors, and I was quite surprised how quickly it was covered and with a paint sprayer, and I think it was a very good improvement to the garden area. Then in July, I took you around for some updates. I had planted in 3 new trees. The first one was an elegans Japanese maple. It was kind of like a chartreusey green. And then the next tree that I planted in was the Ruby Falls redbud tree. And then I also added in a heritage river birch, all close in proximity to the house. I really like that cozy kind of feeling where your house is kind of nestled in trees. And I kind of feel like it's more of a prairie right now. So trees take some time to grow, but I am looking forward to seeing them grow and create that cozy feeling that I'm going for in the garden. Also in July, I took you for a tour of the kitchen garden. So I started out in the sunset garden at the front of the kitchen garden, the new perennial area that I added in as using the no-dig method in the spring. And I kind of showed you the progression of the perennials, how they were doing, what they looked like. And then from there, I went bed by bed through what was growing in each of the 4x8 cedar beds in my kitchen garden. I then ended that video with yet another tour. It was the July garden tour. It was really neat to see because I'm always visiting the same gardens, the different plants that come up throughout the summer months, to kind of get an idea of what plants look good at what time in Zone 6. So if you're interested in having a summer full of blooms, then you can check out each of those videos and see what I have blooming in my garden during that month of the year. August was a quieter month in which I just enjoyed the quiet of the garden, and I posted one garden tour for the month of August, and before we knew it, it was September. Then in September, I took you along for a quick cut flower garden tour, showing you the flowers that I like to grow for cut flower arrangements. And then we did some fall planting together in the new sunset garden, adding in some grasses into the border of the new garden. Then come October, I made a video taking you along as I started adding on to my sunrise garden. Using the no-dig method, I took you along to show you some of the plants that I was adding for some great year-round interest. And then we talked a little bit about cover crops at the end of that video. Then come late October, early November, I took you along as I added in some tulip bulbs and some daffodils into the new sunset garden. In November, we really had a number of killing frosts, and I took you along as I dug up my dahlias and I stored them for the winter, and then we planted some garlic bulbs together. It's now winter time. It's a time of rest for me, and I have so enjoyed looking back at all the things that we accomplished in the garden this past year, and I look forward to the things that we hope to accomplish again in the new year. Some things like building a farm stand for my cut flowers, adding some more raised beds into the kitchen garden area, and of course, lots more perennial gardening. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, friends, and that you will consider subscribing. This will be my last video for this year 2024, and I will see you, Lord willing, in 2025.